This is the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, and I'm your host, Trudy Simmons from the Daisy Chain Group, providing platforms and opportunities for businesswomen to be seen and heard. This platform is for the women entrepreneurs that want to hear the real stories of what it takes to be yourself and run a business with all the different hats that you might have to wear. Come and join the Shine On You Crazy Daisy membership, offering online networking, co-working, collaboration and monthly masterclasses for you to grow your knowledge. Go to thedaisychaingroup.com for more information. These are the platforms to hear and share the stories of the tenacious, the rebellious, and the resilient women that are working towards the future that they build for themselves and their families. Hello and welcome to the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast. I am your host, Trudy Simmons, and today I am thrilled and excited to introduce you to Ursula Stroh from Trim Your Sails. Ursula, thank you so much for being involved in the book and the podcast. Please tell us about your business.
Okay, thank you so much, Trudy, for having me. I'm really privileged to be here and to be part of this wonderful project. My business is about helping people who are going through major changes to be more resilient, to be able to go through all the processes of change and to know all the phases that they need to go through for any big changes in their lives. So it's helping them from feeling completely overwhelmed and alone and taking on so many things in their lives to building the resilience so that in the end they can absolutely welcome change as a growth opportunity. That's more or less what my business is all about.
I love that. And the way you described it is basically what this book is. All the Shine Your Crazy Daisy books is about this resilience that we all need to be able to have, or we all have in being able to run our own businesses. Your life seemed to start over a talk about death. Tell us about that.
So I actually don't see it as a talk about death. I see it as a talk about life and how we live and how we should be living to our passion and to what makes us happy. And if we live to our passion and to what makes us happy, we would actually live a more fulfilled life and a life that gives, rather than just thinking about death as being just something that leads us to nothing. It's more about how we live and the legacy that we leave. That's more what it's all about.
And what was the talk that happened?
The talk that happened that led me to that?
Yeah.
Well, it was understanding what my passion is all about. Do you want me to tell the story? Is that what you need to do? Oh, all right. Well, about 10 or 12 years or so ago, I moved to America and I was asked to be a associate professor at a university in Maryland. And my husband at that time stayed in Australia. And him and I had a Skype relationship. So we decided that we would talk every day and we'll discuss what the general days goings on are, what the cat's doing, what the dog's doing. And then one day he called me and he said that Steve Irwin had died. And I was incredibly upset about that. And I actually started crying because I really liked the man. I had so much respect for how he did wildlife preservation and what he did for the whole image of Australia around the world and for the wildlife in Australia. Anyway, I then asked my husband at that time, how did he die? And he said, well, he died from a stingray. And I immediately kind of calmed down and I went, oh, that's sad, but makes me feel a little bit better. And he said, what does that mean? Does that mean he was a paraglider, my husband? And he said, so what would that mean if I fall from the sky? Would you not be upset? And I said, obviously I'd be upset, but I wouldn't be as sad as if you died of cancer or a car accident or something like that, because at least you've done something that you're passionate about. Now, at that point in my life, because I was in America and I was working incredibly hard to get my PhD in change management, my life was just overrun by books and by studies and by students and by just being very involved in academics. And he took a bit of he teased me, and he said, had a bit of fun with me, and he said, so what does that mean? Are you going to die with a book against your head or something? And I immediately realized that it really was upsetting to me to think about him or the world seeing me as just somebody who lives in such a boring way, because that was what my world was. It was just studies and so forth. And I thought, what am I giving back? What am I doing to make my life exciting? And I'm actually a person who loves adventure and loves those types of things. So it was a very interesting thing for me to mull around in my head about, what does that mean for me as a person, how I live my life, and how, that's what I'm saying. It's not about how you die, but it's how you live your life up to that point. And that really made me think.
I love the story around it, because that feeling of Steve Irwin being so passionate about what he did, what he still does in such a large way with his kids. And that feeling of you saying, you being told, oh, so you're going to die from a book to your head, and that punch in the gut of, crikey, what is my life at this point? I read that story, and it really made me sit and think, and I love things that make me sit and think, because I don't do it very often. So thank you for that. You have weathered a lot of storms in your life experience, but what was the moment that you looked at things differently?
There were two moments, I think, that I'd love to mention. The one was where I was really at a low point in my life after I came back from America and back to Australia. We actually broke up, my husband and I, for various reasons. A big contributing factor, which was really a hardship for me that I went through, was that I could never have children. And that really, at that point, I went into menopause. I realized that was never going to happen for me. I was absolutely overrun with work. I was really at a point in my life, the lowest point that I could ever be, and my marriage fell apart. So it was a very poignant kind of counterpoint for me to decide, what am I going to do with my life? And I fell apart to the point where I was suicidal, and seriously suicidal, ended up in hospital. And I remember a moment after that whole situation being at a point where I'm thinking, why am I even trying, or why am I even carrying on? It was also my second divorce. So at that point, it was for the same reason, because I couldn't have kids, I think, was one major contributing factor. But it really put me in a point where I was, what is the sense of it all? And I bumped into a quote that was on Facebook that just said, you can break down a woman temporarily, but a real woman will always pick up the pieces, rebuild herself, and come back stronger than ever.
Yes.
And that was something that was, it really stuck in my heart, in the sense of, wow, a real woman isn't one who can produce babies, or a real woman isn't one who can make a house or make a home. A real woman is somebody who can give back to the world and gets up after each time she gets struck down. And how are you going to do it, was my question to myself. So that was an important point for me. And I subsequently then went and signed up to go and sail around the world, which was completely out of my comfort zone, completely out of anything I've ever actually done before. I'm not a sailor at all. I didn't know how to sail. I didn't know to speak. I always say I didn't know how to speak boat, which was a whole new language for me. And so I did that, which changed my life completely. And actually, I love telling the story. And in the chapter, I also tell the story where I was in the middle of a storm in the Southern Ocean, a hurricane. That was the most dramatic thing I've ever experienced in my life, with all that wind and water and rain. And we had to go to the front of the boat, and the boat went under the water and out of the water. And I felt that moment, I'm going to die. This is it. This is the moment that I'm going to die. And the fear was overwhelming. The noise of that wind, the water, me trying to breathe, and then just coming out of the water, being slammed down on the deck again. And all of the emotions at that moment. And suddenly it was just like, hang on, I'm going to die in the Southern Ocean, in a hurricane, on a boat with my crew. That's amazing. That's not a book against my head. This is a moment of actually living the extreme. And this is living. So those were probably two very profound moments in my life.
Crikey, Riley. I mean, I'm reading it in the chapter. Honestly, everyone should read it. I had my fingernails out. I was on the edge of my seat going, live, Ursula, live. It was just, what an experience and what a story. The way that you wrote it was beautiful. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
How do you help your clients now in your business?
So I think I share my moments, and there were many. There were so many incredible moments on that trip and subsequent trips as well. And I think the most important thing for me is to share those moments of where I was really at the bottom, and I managed somehow, through inspiration from other people, through inspiration from even things that people have said to me that were not always the most positive things in that moment, like my ex-husband saying to me, how are you going to die with a book against your head? And it was those little things that actually spurred me on to do better for myself, not for anybody else in that moment, but for me to be able to give back to the world and mean something. And a real woman, a real caring woman would give back to anybody out there, not just to her direct environment. So it's taking people through their journeys and helping them understand what could make them stronger to be able to make it through.
Taking them through their moments. I love that feeling that gives you. We all have moments, and we all come out the other side of it with the lessons that we learn. If there was one lesson that you've learned that you want every entrepreneur to know, what would it be?
I think it's thinking about life as ups and downs, understanding that is just the way everybody's lives are. There's never just ups. I think that saying of this too shall pass, I always thought I'd love to make a tattoo on my hand with saying this too shall pass. And it's all about the positives will pass. So enjoy it with absolute every piece of passion in you. Just enjoy every positive moment. And the negatives, just go one more step, because they will too pass. Just one more step. One more step.
Oh, thank you. What's your favorite business book?
So I have read this book that actually summarizes all the business books in infographics. And one of them that I love is 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And it's by Amy Morin. And she talks about the things that, if you really want to be a strong person, you shouldn't feel sorry for yourself. You should take control of your life, and you should be ready to accept change. Those are the types of things that she talks about. And that to me is what I love also sharing with my clients and with people all around me.
Amazing. Ursula, this has been an absolute pleasure to read the chapter, and to watch your life literally unfold in 2,000 words was miraculous. I loved reading it. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I can't wait to get it out there to others.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love being part of it.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please like the video and click the subscribe button for this channel for more inspiration. If you're a businesswoman looking for that community that will support you and lift you up, come and join the Shine On You Crazy Daisy membership, offering online networking, co-working, collaboration, and monthly masterclasses to grow your knowledge. Go to thedaisychaingroup.com for more information. And for even more inspiration, please go to the link under the video and get your copy of the Shine On You Crazy Daisy series of books with inspirational and motivating stories from businesswomen around the world.